By halftime of this year's Super Bowl, we were just about ready to throw in the towel. Thankfully, we did not, and hopefully, you didn't either. We were treated to some pretty great ads, as always. We discovered that the Bud Light and Game of Thrones universes are one and the same. But more importantly, we got another sneak peek at Avengers Endgame. Marvel only had 30 seconds to impress us, so the spot didn't tell us much. However, we still saw enough that we will be talking about it from now until the end of April when the movie is released. What we obviously want to know most is what the remaining Avengers have planned next. Half of all living creatures have been wiped out, so how exactly are they going to go about bringing them back? While most are discussing time and soul stones, our attention has been caught by Thor and his new god-smiting weapon, Stormbreaker. It would seem that the Asgardian is planning on going rogue in Endgame and taking down Thanos all by himself. Here's why we think he would do something so crazy, and what has led us to believe that our favorite demigod is on a one-man Thanos hunt. First things first, why on earth would Thor abandon the rest of the Avengers in order to tackle the biggest and baddest supervillain to ever grace the big screen? Well, the Asgardian is likely feeling a fair bit of guilt. One of the final scenes in Infinity War, before we have our collective heart broken, shows Thor seemingly defeating Thanos. He launches his trusty new axe Stormbreaker right at Thanos and hits a bullseye as the blade plunges deep into his chest. Home run, right? Wrong. While conversing with what he and the rest of us hoped was a dying Thanos, the Mad Titan utters perhaps the most iconic line in the MCU to date: "You should have gone for the head." With that, Thanos snaps his fingers and wipes out half of all life in the universe. Cue people turning into dust left and right, and a goodbye between Peter Parker and Tony Stark that would break even the hardest of hearts. No, I'm not crying, you're crying. While all of that is going on, Thanos has already managed to make it back to his beloved Titan. Clearly, the Infinity Gauntlet still had a little juice left in it, despite seemingly being melted into the big man's hand. Meanwhile, Thor is left to rue, not aiming just a little bit higher. On the bright side, at least Stormbreaker fell out of Thanos' chest before he disappeared. Even though Thor managed to harness his powers without the use of any magical items imbued by Peter Dinklage, Stormbreaker might be the only way Thor could end Thanos' life. Plus, with Heimdall now out of the picture thanks to Thanos, Thor's trusty axe is presumably the only means the Asgardian now has to travel between worlds. So where were we? Ah, right, guilt. Yes, even though Thor did more damage to Thanos than everyone in Wakanda at that point in time combined, he was the one who could have struck the winning blow. So it makes sense that of all the surviving Avengers, he would feel the most guilt. Emphasis on the word surviving when we say this. If Peter Quill, he can have the Star-Lord moniker back if he returns and apologizes, had not been dusted, then he should really be the one battling Thanos alone. We mean, come on, Peter, the gauntlet was off. That guilt, coupled with Thor not playing well with others despite being an Avenger, may well lead him to battle Thanos alone. As mentioned previously though, this is not something we have merely pulled out of thin air. We have the proof that possibly backs it up, and here it comes. The Super Bowl spot for Endgame was just a short 30 seconds long, but we got a great look at what's to come. Cap has got his shield back, there's a shot that looks as if another unknown hero has been digitally removed from the scene, and Hawkeye returns! Okay, we already knew about that last one, but we are really excited about it. And as far as a hero being removed from the scene though, theorists point toward Ant-Man, but this wouldn't be the first time that Marvel has fiddled with a trailer to avoid spoilers. What we really want to know the answer to though, is where is Thor? Throughout most of the 30-second trailer, the remaining Avengers are together. Ant-Man and War Machine are suiting up, plus we see Iron Man and Nebula presumably working together to survive what could be their final moments aboard the Benatar. Honestly, we don't want to fill the gaps between that moment and Tony recording what may well be his last words as he is floating through space. It's just too much. The final shot we see is some of the Avengers walking together. One of them is definitely Thor's new friend Rocket, and we're assuming that it could be Thor bringing up the rear. Interesting, but again, this is not the shot that concerns us most. What we want to know is where Thor is a little more than midway through the trailer. We get a close-up of the Asgardian's face, and then a shot of him from behind. He stands in the mouth of an oddly shaped cave. So where is the cave? The quick and easy answer would be Wakanda, rolling hills peppered with trees. It certainly could be, but why would Thor be chilling in a cave in Wakanda? Trying to shrug off some of that self-imposed guilt we were talking about earlier via a little alone time? Again, maybe. But we much prefer the other theory that the cave is on Titan 2 and Thor has gone there alone to hunt down Thanos. The shots certainly add up. We got a glimpse of what Thanos is up to post-snap in the first Endgame trailer, gleefully skipping through a field with his armor hung up on some scarecrow. More limping than skipping, but he is definitely in a good mood. After all, Thanos sees himself as some sort of holy warrior coming home from battle. No, really. Back in May, director Anthony Russo told Uproxx that Thanos considers himself a holy warrior. I couldn't make this up. Anyway, the color, skyline, and greenery of said armor on Scarecrow's shot matches up eerily well with the one of Thor in a cave. Let's not ignore what Thor is wearing, or what he's carrying. This isn't the first Thor movie, and the guy isn't exactly wandering around in his robes 24/7 anymore. While exiting the cave, the demigod looks very much ready for battle. He even has Stormbreaker in hand. Could it be that he has traveled through space to Titan in order to finish the job? If he has, we pray to Odin that this time he goes for the head. Clearly, if Thor's plan is to take out Thanos all on his own, the rest of the remaining Avengers are not on board with that. They all have key roles to play, otherwise Endgame would be the fourth Thor movie. There has been a litany of evidence across both trailers that the grand plan is not to simply let Thor whiz off to Titan and try to finish what he started. The assumption is that the heroes will travel through time somehow, or that Captain Marvel saves the day, or that the innocuous "there is no other way" line from Doctor Strange has a lot more meaning than we originally thought. Hell, it's probably a combination of all three, but let's stay on track here. What Thor isn't going to do is sneak off into the night without telling anyone, at least not to begin with. We imagine he has a big old fight with Captain America, Black Widow, and everyone else over what the right plan of action should be. As we have learned by now, Thor doesn't like to lose fights. That's why to stop him venturing off alone, Thor is imprisoned in Wakanda. Although that's not a great plan for the Avengers, as Stormbreaker can summon the Bifrost. We're sure that they would have thought of that, considering what's at stake though. Absolutely certain of it. For evidence of Thor's imprisonment, we have to rewind back to the first Endgame trailer. Once again, there is very little interaction between Thor and the other Avengers. In fact, the only real look we get of the Asgardian is when he is sat in what appears to be some sort of futuristic cell. Could it be that his so-called friends have imprisoned him? That is extremely likely. What other way could you possibly stop the stubborn demigod from attempting to slay Thanos? If he is indeed being kept against his will, Thor evidently manages to escape somehow. So maybe the Stormbreaker Bifrost scenario wasn't taken seriously enough by the other Avengers. Then again, there is another theory as to why Thor might be locked up. The last thing to happen in the MCU was an alien landed on Earth, wiped out half of all living creatures, and then quickly took his leave. We all know how irrational humankind can be in big-budget movies containing space creatures, no matter how often said creatures save their entire race from imminent oblivion. Perhaps us fickle mortals have lumped Thor in with Thanos simply because he isn't from around here. It would certainly explain why Thor is so calm despite being locked inside a cell, since he is only doing so to keep everyone happy. Plus, you know, the whole he could get out of there at a moment's notice because he has a magical, all-powerful axe to summon whenever he so chooses. It would also lend itself to the theory that he wants to battle Thanos alone. What better way to prove you're one of the good guys than finding the guy who got you tarred with that brush in the first place? Last but not least, let's not forget the other alien with whom Thor has built something of a kinship, Rocket. Rocket doesn't know this yet, but he is the last remaining Guardian of the Galaxy. If he doesn't help fix everything that's gone wrong, it might make for a pretty boring Volume 3. No offense, Rocket. Anyway, if Thor is in prison for being an alien, then why isn't Rocket? Well, the simple answer is he's a raccoon. Yes, Thor looks like a human, but he's been coming to Earth for years. Rocket can simply stop talking, lose the gun and clothes, and just look like wildlife. There is a shot of him in the latest trailer, and we're not sure where he is exactly. It's by the sea, seemingly in the countryside, and could well be a magical place known as New Asgard. As Odin poignantly said to Thor, Asgard is not a place, but a people. At the end of Thor Ragnarok, a ship filled with surviving Asgardians is headed for Earth. With Thor locked away, his new friend Rocket might well have ventured to New Asgard, since it is now situated on Earth, we hope, in search of their help. Who knows who or what he might find there to help free Thor and defeat Thanos. We thoroughly believe that all of the above would make for a great movie. Honestly, we would love nothing more than for Thor to have a second one-on-one with Thanos and this time get the better of him. However, we see one glaring hole in Thor's plan, and we are assuming that the rest of the Avengers see it too. The plan is not going to be, let's all go and pay Thanos a visit. Merely ending the Mad Titan's life isn't going to bring back the billions, if not trillions of creatures he dusted. Do you really want that kind of blood on your hands, Thor? As much as we are aching to see Thanos get his, now is not the time for superheroes to let their tempers get the better of them. It does seem like we are about to head down that road with Thor though, unfortunately. Thankfully, we don't have to wait much longer to find out how exactly the Avengers remedy what happened. Come April 25th, we will all be able to breathe a huge sigh of relief after what has been the longest year of our lives. Plus, we will be introduced to Captain Marvel between now and then too. Honestly, Thor, we would seriously not recommend messing with her. Until then, be sure to check out the rest of our stuff and subscribe to our channel behind the screen. Hit the subscribe button and then smash that bell button to get all the latest content right as it comes out.